You're listening to the Outstanding Life Podcast with your host, Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. As a motivational speaker, Johnny D impacts audiences around the world with his message of living the outstanding life. He's a best-selling author, MC, and two-time Grammy-considered artist. This podcast is a place where Johnny D can introduce you to his outstanding friends and share funny, interesting, and heart-provoking stories. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. Here comes your host, Johnny D.
Coming in on the show with me today is a good friend of mine. Known this guy for a long, long time from NASCAR. He's a good friend of mine. Please welcome Mr. Brian Brown in the house and his grandmother, Josie. How are you guys?
Hey, Johnny, we are so happy to be here.
Man, what's the weather like in Texas today?
It's beautiful. There's not really a cloud in the sky, so it's a beautiful day out here.
That is so awesome. Hey, Brian, I can't thank you and your grandmother enough for giving me the opportunity to hang out with you and the listeners, the watchers, because you have such an incredible story, Brian. And I'm glad that you're able to come on the show and we can share your story to millions of other people. So thank you so much for coming on the show and telling your story. Brian, those the men and women that are watching you right now, obviously they see that you are in a wheelchair and
Yes.
you have cerebral palsy, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So, Brian, before we kick off the show, I want to introduce you to my co-host today, Mr. Bill Melbach. So, Bill, say hello to Brian.
How you doing, Brian? And Grandma Josie.
So we are, hey Brian. This is just a fun show, but I want to jump right into this, and I want to talk about, right from the beginning. I guess I maybe ask you or your grandmother what you were like as a child, because this is something you were born with, correct?
Yes, sir. I was born with this, and when I was born, I was 3 months premature, and I weighed 2 pounds and 2 ounces.
Wow,
Oh.
Man.
Actually, my daughter had you beat. She was only 1 pound 15 ounces.
That's right. She was a preemie too.
Yeah, she was a preemie too.
So Brian, you had 1.5 pounds on Bill's daughter because she was only 1.5 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, I had to make it interesting.
That's right, exactly.
So Grandma Josie, what was it like when Brian finally did come home from the hospital?
Oh, Brian came home as a butterball. he was the fittest little baby that you ever seen. You can even see his feet; they were so fat.
And you did say he came home as a pistol, right?
Yes, that too. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been incredible since he's been raised by us. It's just amazing that what a blessing he's been to us, how he's growing still.
Well, I just want to say, Granny and Brian, I just want to say that, you have been a blessing in my life as well. Brian, you talk about somebody that is inspirational, motivational. I can't wait for the men and women to hear your story. So you came home, you were a butterball. When did you realize that you were a little bit different than all the other kids?
Johnny, it's funny that you say that because the way I was raised, I didn't have the chance to feel, as you say, quote-unquote different, because from a very early age, my grandmother always instilled in me the fact that, yes, I might be a little different physically, but in the grand scheme of things, I was just normal like everybody else, and I just happened to use a wheelchair to get around. So if you're asking me what it was like to feel different, I don't know, because I never was put in an environment to know what different means.
He was never left out, in other words.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that. And Bill, we were just talking about that too. And you know what? Brian was raised saying that, there is nothing different about you.
That's right. No,
we love you for who you are, what you're about. And I mean, Brian, some of your biggest accomplishments at a young age that I know about. I mean, you were on the honor roll in high school. I mean, you had a 4.0 in high school. What was high school like for you, Brian?
Well, you know me, Johnny. I've always liked a challenge, and I've always looked at school or really anything academic that I've done always as a challenge, and I always wanted to beat the challenge that I was faced with. And that included school, that included really everything I've ever done. So I always enjoyed the challenges of high school and even moving into college, because I always embraced the challenge for sure.
I love it. Now, Brian, did academics come easy for you, or is it something that you really had to work on?
Really, I've been blessed because mentally, I've always been pretty sharp. So really, academics came easy for me. I can't say that I struggled. In fact, like I said, going back to what I said just a few seconds ago, I always embraced the challenge. So the harder things were academically, the more I liked it.
Okay.
He was born with speed.
He was what, Granny?
He was born with a speed.
Oh,
he had this in the beginning.
And college was no different either, Brian. I mean, you graduated college on the honor roll as well.
Yes, sir, I did. In my whole college career, I had one C. The rest were A's and B's all the way through.
You had to throw that in there. I mean, I was lucky to get a C.
He was complete.
Now, let me ask you this, Brian. What was your motivation for being that guy? Was it what was it that you wanted? You couldn't play sports, so you wanted to be that guy that could show everybody that, hey, you know what? I might have a disability, but I want to show you that I'm smart and I'm all these other things.
Well, Johnny, my fandom as a NASCAR fan. So I always told myself, if I made an A, that was me going to victory lane. If I made a B, that was me getting a top 5. Anything less than a top 5 was a flat tire. So I always tried to at least score a top 5. And that's the mindset I took. And it served me well.
Now, let me ask you this, Brian. Was it something that your grandmother instilled in you that, hey, listen, you need to come home with good grades? I mean, was it something that at home that you had to work a little bit harder because that, Granny would be mad and upset with you if you didn't come home with a good grade because she knows that you had it inside you to do well?
Let me tell you this, Johnny. Yes, she wanted me to do as well as I possibly could. But nobody put more pressure on me than I put on myself because I knew what I was capable of. And so I wanted to uphold good grades for my own standards and my own way of looking at things.
Brian, you accomplish more by 9 a.m. than most people do all week. Me and Bill were talking about this before the show today, and just the struggles of getting out of bed for you. Is a feat in itself. People complain all the time about things that they don't have or they can't do or they wish they had this or they wish they had that. But Brian, the excitement that you bring in my life, just to watch what you do by 9 a.m. is just incredible. And I can't thank you for the inspiration. But let me ask you this, Brian. Could you walk through your typical morning and afternoon so people can realize what you really go through?
Sure I can. Well, you've heard me talk about that I'm pretty sharp mentally. I'm very blessed in that regard. But physically is where I need a lot more help because I have to depend on my caregiver, which is my wonderful granny, to get me up out of bed in the morning with the help of some equipment that we have. Because when I was younger, she could do it on her own. do it by her own abilities. But as I've gotten older and as I've eaten a lot more, I never miss a meal. She has some equipment, but what happens is she gets me up in the morning using a lift. She obviously helps me get dressed. She puts my clothes on. She brushes my teeth. So physically, and she also feeds me because she never wants to let me starve. So everything physically, she basically does for me. Physically, I can't do much on my own. So I'm so blessed and so fortunate to have somebody like my grandmother who can step in. And Johnny, I have to say this about her. She's been helping me my whole life, and never once have I heard her complain or say why me, because she looks at it as a privilege, but she can expand more on what she goes through with me, because she handles the physical side of me more than I do, to be honest with you.
And those that don't know Granny, and let me tell you, if she's 5 foot tall, I'm being nice about it, because I mean she is not a very tall woman at all. Granny, how tall are you?
I'm 4'9".
You're 4'9". See that's what I mean. And she's tiny. But you are just an amazing woman. Is Brian, Granny? Let me ask you this: is Brian a morning person?
Oh yes, yes.
So does he ever wake up grouchy?
Maybe if I wake him up a little later than what he wants to get up.
Really?
He's
So
ready.
he wants to get up early.
He wants to get up early. And I want to sleep maybe a little, maybe not 15, 20 minutes later, and he'll say, "I'm up." That's his words. I'm up.
Hey, Brian, if you would, you just said a few minutes ago that your grandmother is your caregiver. If you could, Brian, walk us through. I understand you were a preemie. You talk to your mother and stuff now. Why is your grandmother? Why did you move in with Granny?
Well, when my mom remarried, her husband was from Florida. So, and she was very young when she remarried. So again, my grandmother stepped up to the plate, and she told my mom, she said, "Why don't you go to Florida, get settled in with your new life there, and then you can send for Brian later." But I told her, I said, "I'll go with my mom if you come with me too."
I love it.
And
Granny said, "No way."
she said, "No way." I said, my life is here, my home is here. So ultimately what we decided to do, because if I would have went with my mom, Johnny, I would have had to start pretty much my whole life over. So it was just easier for me to stay here. Because my school was here, my doctors were here, everything I knew was here. So we just decided for me to stay here. That way I wouldn't have to uproot my whole life and move to a new place.
I
And I
love it.
would say that it worked out for the best. But with that being said, I have a fantastic relationship with my mother.
Oh yeah, she's a wonderful woman. I've met her several times.
Yeah, I love her to death. So, and she's actually living here with us now. So she moved back, and so we're just one happy, interesting, and entertaining family.
Brian,
awesome.
Brian and Granny, before I get into your accomplishments and stuff like that, Brian, the one thing that me, you, and your grandmother and your mother have in common is not just NASCAR, but the one thing that we also have is our faith. And faith has been such a big part of your life. Has that always been a part of your life? Is that something that your grandmother instilled in you? Was the faith? Was the church? Or is that something that you found by yourself? So talk a little bit about your guys' faith.
Johnny, since I can remember, I've been in church. So the church for me has always been a good place to be. Now, obviously, as I've gotten older, my faith has gotten deeper because I've studied and I've grown in my faith on my own. But I was in a position at a very early age to be fostered in the church. There's really no place I'd rather be. So my faith, you're going to talk about my accomplishments a little later in the show, but my faith is really the driving force behind everything.
I love it. I love it. Not that I said that we have our faith. We said that we have church, but we also have you being a motivational speaker, me being a motivational speaker. Brian, was the first time you ever spoke, was it at church or was it at a school? Was it at an event? Is church what got you into becoming a motivational speaker?
I'll tell you what, Johnny, this is a really great story, so I'm glad you're giving me the opportunity to share it with you. But I used to ride horses for physical therapy.
Yep.
And my instructor at the time, she was also the executive director of the organization where I rode the horses for therapy. She actually invited me to go speak to the incarcerated youth at a juvenile detention center in Longview, Texas, which is about 15 minutes away from my house. So that was my first experience as far as hearing God's call for me to be a speaker and to serve Him in that way. Because I'll be honest with you, I set a goal before I went in there. I set a goal with myself, and I said, if I can say something through the grace of God that will allow one of these kids to take the message to heart, that's mission accomplished. And I'll have to tell you, I spoke with them about 45 minutes, I would say, and the general message was, be thankful for what you have. Don't settle for your way of life. Be thankful for what you have, because look where you are. Look where you are. You've made decisions that have put you in this position to be behind bars. And think about me. Think about how blessed I would feel if I had a good body like you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, being a great mentor. So, Brian, let me ask you this, and I'm being funny now when I say this, but I have to ask. Your first speaking gig was at a juvenile, facility. Have you ever been in trouble for anything, Brian, besides being in trouble with your grandmother, or have you always been just a great kid?
I've been accused, but I haven't been charged. Let me say. I've been accused, but I haven't been charged. And let me tell you the story. The story is, I was waiting for my grandmother to pick me up from high school one day, and so I was in my normal spot. And she comes storming out of the van, and she tells me, she said, "Get in the van." And I said, okay, what did I do? She said, don't talk to me. You know what you did. I said, Granny, what did I do? She said, you're grounded from TV, you're grounded from PlayStation, you're grounded from all your fun stuff. I said, Granny, please tell me what I did. I said, I didn't do anything. She said, how come you didn't tell me you got sent to detention? I said, what? I said, I've never been to detention my whole life. So when we got home, Johnny, she sent me a pink slip. She showed me a pink slip that she got in the mail, and I looked at it, and I said, Granny, look at that again. I said, that says Brian Browning with the ING, not Brian Brown. So
bad.
So they sent somebody else's pink slip to the wrong address, which was mine, and I got chewed out for it.
Brian,
So-
look, it's tough sometimes to ask tough questions to you, but Bill, I mean, I'm thinking like this guy literally has the perfect life, right? I mean, he has a mother that loves him, he has family that loves him, a grandmother that loves him, a church that loves him, a school that loves him. I mean, this guy literally has it together, right?
Absolutely.
So
A
I'm
lot
just
of blessings.
I'm a lot of blessings, right?
Yeah.
But I'm wondering one thing. And this is going to come out of my mouth. I'm going to ask him.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if has there ever been any drama in Brian's life at all? I mean, I'm just
Johnny-
curious, Brian. Has there ever been any drama in your life?
I have never shared this story with you.
Well, don't
Well-
worry. There's nobody listening right
it's
now.
just us.
A few of our closest friends.
That's right.
But I never shared the story with you, but now's a good time as any time would be. When I was in college going after my associate's degree, it was finals week. And I swear to this day I tell people, all the professors got together for finals week and they said, since this is Brian's last week with us, let's make his life as miserable as possible. I swear that's what they were thinking. Because anything and everything that you could think of that would be due for finals, it was due. I had book reports, I had essays, I had research papers, anything and everything. And you'll have to bear with me because I always tear up when I tell this story. But for the first time, I put God on the back burner. And I said, God, I've waited for you to help me, like physically, and you've never been there. So I'm just going to put you on the shelf for a little while, and I am going to handle things myself. Well, obviously, that didn't work out so well. Because the more I tried to stay on top of things, the harder it got for me. But I gotta tell you, Johnny, God said, no, I'm not letting you go. And what he did, he came to me in a dream that night.
It's all right, buddy. You're making me tear up too.
Yeah, well, me too.
And,
You already got me.
and in that dream, I was walking for the very first time, and I swear to you, I could feel myself literally walking in the dream. And I was walking with two of my friends. And in the dream, we rounded two curves. There was a curve in the road, and we rounded those two curves. And Johnny, I saw Christ. But
Wow.
when I saw him, he wasn't in the white robe. The way I saw him was, he was walking slowly, but he was also carrying the cross. And when we made eye contact, he slipped and he fell. And when he slipped, obviously he hit the pavement first, and then the cross fell on top of him. So when I saw this, Johnny, for the first time, I took off running. And again, keep in mind that I could literally feel myself running.
That's awesome, Brian.
And so I got to Jesus, and I said, "Don't worry, Lord, I'm gonna get this off of you." So I tried to lift it up on my own, but it was too heavy. So I motioned for my two friends who were behind me, and they finally caught up to us. And I said, "We got to get this off of him." So the three of us lifted, and we got it off of him enough to the point where he could look up at me.
That's awesome. No, don't
And
be.
when he looked up at me, his face was covered in asphalt from the road because the road was wet, and you know how fresh asphalt comes up when the road is freshly paved.
Yep.
But when he looked up at me, he said, instead of saying, "Shame on you, why weren't you there when I fell?" all he looked up to me and said was, "I love you, I 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 love you." And then he disappeared. He disappeared, the cross disappeared, and after that happened, I woke up and I tried to call my grandmother, but for 15 to 20 minutes, I had a frog in my throat. And finally, I was able to call her, and she came to my room, and I explained to her what happened, Johnny. But what that dream told me is no matter what we're facing, we're never alone.
That's right.
And God taught me that through that dream. The best way I can describe it to people, God was trying to teach me how to dance. And you know me, I've never taken a physical dance step in my life.
Hey.
So once I realized that that's what I needed to do, God said, "You were stepping on my toes. But if you let me lead,
Yeah.
and if you let me lead, this could be the most beautiful dance you will ever be a part of." And
I love
once I relinquished control of my own selfishness and of my own ability and just surrendered everything to Him, I heard you say earlier that I have a perfect life. Well, that's the reason.
I
Because
love it.
my life is surrounded by the love of God,
Amen.
and I've never been more happy to let people know. I've never been ashamed to share the gospel.
If you can, explain to the audience how important your faith is, and you're explaining a dream, but I know you've also written like 3 books, and you're working on a 4th, and 2 of them, one was called A Legacy of Faith, and the other one's called An Answer to Call. And if you could you explain to the audience sort of like what the message is behind those and what you feel the call was?
Well, the first book is kind of like my biography. The first book talks about what it was like for me to grow up with a disability as a kid and kind of some of the situations that I faced. And it also talks about if you have a little faith and if you persevere and you have a foundation of faith, you can overcome pretty much anything. You just have to trust God to lead your life, and He'll take care of you. That was the first one. The second one, I kind of expanded on that a little bit. The second one is called Answer the Call, and that one is talking about how we as believers always have to be ready and willing to answer God's call for our lives, whatever that call may be.
And this may be difficult, but as you were explaining, you had a dream in the last episode. And if you could, have you ever, in terms of your own faith and your relationship with God, have you ever like sort of like asked Him why, or did this ever feel like not a blessing, or have you always just felt like this was a blessing in your life?
You know, Bill, I am truly blessed because I've never asked God the question why. You know, the only thing I've asked Him why is why couldn't He let Jeff Gordon win 94 races instead of...
The important things, exactly.
I've never asked Him the question why, because I know that at the end of the day, He's using me for His purposes, and at the end of the day, He will let me walk at the right time. So I'm just working my way up to that day. No, I will say I can't wait for that day to get here.
You know what, Brian? But the thing is, in Bill, he is walking. He's walking right through and into people's lives.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. I mean, walking doesn't always have to be physical, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes you can walk into someone's life and make them run.
Oh, for sure.
Run in their own way.
For sure. And then, especially in today's society, I always thought it would be great if we could match people like yourself who have this just tremendous will and tremendous blessing up with people that are depressed. Because it seems amazing to me that the obstacles that you've overcome, but yet at the same time the willpower and the incredible faith that you have would be just such a blessing to others.
Yeah.
You know, that are having struggles. You know, it's just like what he was telling the people in the other broadcast when he talked to the youngsters at the juvenile detention place. But so yeah, if there's any message you could send to people that maybe are struggling with depression or anything else, what would you share with them?
I would say that you are loved and you have a purpose. And God is always there for you. You just have to go to Him. But you are loved and you have a purpose. And your purpose is different from everybody else's. We all have purposes. We all have gifts. We all have talents. But if you have a purpose and you're not using it, like if you have certain gifts and talents, you're not only hurting yourself, but you're hurting those in your circle of influence that you could be blessing at the same time. So I would suggest use your gifts and talents for yourself, but also for the glory of God's kingdom.
Awesome.
Brian, listen, I understand that you're you get up way before Granny. You get mad when you can't get up in time. You're motivational, you're inspirational. But me being a speaker and being one of those guys, I know that I have those days too where I need a good kick in the rear end. Who is it for you that you go to when you know that you can't give 100%, but you want to? Who is it that kicks you in the rear end? Who is it? Who are those people that motivate and inspire you?
You're looking at her. This 4'9" package of feisty here.
I love it.
Yes.
You know what? I tease her all the time because when I need a good kick in the rear end, I say, easy, Fido, calm down.
Brian,
Yeah.
So it's Granny that motivates you and inspires you. Let me ask you this, Granny Josie. Let me ask you this, if you don't mind, is it? And Bill, you might be wondering the same thing. I mean, Brian's in a wheelchair. She loves him and everything else, and she tries to, pretend like they're, like he's, which he is. He's normal and everything else. But I'm just wondering, does she ever feel bad when she has to yell at him? Like, I mean, Granny Josie.
I don't think so, Johnny. I can answer for her. I don't think so. No, I don't know.
Do you? I mean, when you got to give it to Brian, and you know what I mean? Do you really give it to him, or do you feel bad when you have to, let him know how you really feel?
I give it to him.
Yeah. Hashtag Grandma Josie. It's gonna be trending. I love it.
I get it, but I don't know. I don't feel bad because he's got to understand too, that, he in a way, he's got to help me too, And I said, no, Brian, this is wrong. Like he was telling you about the slip, and I said,
right.
He's got to know that, I'm not just going to be, sugarcoating him all the time. No, that's why. He knows what to do.
He knows who the boss is. Brian, let me ask you this. When you want to just get away from everything and have a little bit of fun, what does Brian Brown do for fun?
I am a people person.
No way.
The more people I can be around, the better. And let me tell you this. It's kind of funny that you said that. As a youth minister, I have the best youth kids in the world. I realize I might be a little bit biased, but I have a lot of fun with them. So this past weekend, we organized a camp out in my backyard, and I hung out with a couple of my youth group kids.
That's
because
awesome.
I take opportunities like that with them to have a lot of fun, but also use that setting to get in with them and see how they're doing and see if there's anything I can do to help them with something they might be struggling with. So
Hey,
we
hey-
had a lot of fun, but the setting allowed us just to kind of talk.
That's awesome. Hey, Brian, now people are fantastic, but before we run out of time here, another thing that's fantastic are dogs. I wanted to ask you, another one of your books was The Adventures of Brian and Shadow. So could you tell me a little bit about Shadow?
Shadow is the greatest dog in the history of dogs.
Excellent.
He's the greatest dog in the history of dogs. But let me tell you about him. He is.
I didn't even have to ask the question. I love it, Brian.
He is a miniature schnauzer, and he is super protective of me and my family. He, like when I was camping out with the kiddos in the tent, he camped right out there with us because he was protecting us all. He was the guard dog. So the reason I wrote the book was I wanted to show younger kids that even though I had a disability, I still had desires and I've always wanted a dog. So once I got Shadow, that was the opportunity for me to show the younger generation that, even though people with disabilities are at a disadvantage, we still have desires and wants too.
Absolutely.
But you don't get away with stuff either. I have to correct.
Hey, Brian, let me ask you this. Is there anything in life that you fear at all? Because, and I asked you that to set up this, because we're going to get into things like you've been skydiving, you've been zip lining, you've driven in Jeff Gordon's race car. I mean, you've done more in your, small time on this earth than most people could ever dream of. Is there anything, though, before we get into talking about all those fun things that you have accomplished physically, is there anything in life that you do fear?
You never asked me that.
You know what I fear, Johnny?
Your grandmother.
Well, yes, that goes without saying. But you're asking me as a person what I fear? I fear letting God down. And let me explain what I mean. When I say I fear letting God down, I fear not doing enough to give him the glory that he deserves. That is my honest to goodness, genuine fear. Sometimes I ask myself, am I doing enough with the things that he's given me to benefit his kingdom and his glory? So that is my number one fear.
Wow, that's awesome. So let's talk about you and you going zip lining. We'll just start there. Whose idea was it to harness you in, in a leather strap and then hook you on a line and then send you away for like 300 or 400 yards? Was that Granny's idea?
No. Johnny, we were on a family vacation. We went to Branson, Missouri, and I was looking at things to do on the internet, and I saw zip lining. I said, cool, I'll get to zip line off the tower 300 feet in the air. That's cool. But so when we were on vacation, we drove to the zip line place, and the first thing you see is a sign that says, disability people are strongly suggested not to do this. There was a sign right out front that said that. But I just ignored the sign. And I went into the office and I asked to speak to the manager. And they said, okay. So they went and got the manager. And I explained to him my situation. I said, look, I have been in Jeff Gordon's race car at 180 miles an hour. If I can handle that, I know I can handle zip lining. And the manager looked at me and smiled and said, "Let's go get you suited up."
Okay, because that wasn't good enough. You know, whose idea was it for you to jump out of a perfectly good, safe airplane? Again, was that your grandma's idea, saying, "Hey, zip lining didn't work, so hey, let's throw him out of an airplane"?
No, that was my idea, because I'll be honest with you, for my 30th birthday, I had told my grandmother, I said, "You know what? I want to do something to send my 20s out with a bang. So I think I'm going to go skydiving." And she kind of looked at me and chuckled and said, "Yeah, okay." But she didn't take me serious. That is, until the day I made the reservation.
So, Brian, walk us through that day, because listen, pal, I mean, I have both of my arms, both of my legs, everything works great, and there is no way I am going to jump out of a perfectly, running airplane.
Yes.
So I got to ask, when you wheeled yourself into that office, did they look at you like you were nuts?
Well, they probably thought I was, but they didn't say it out loud. But they had a history of taking other people before me, so I knew that they knew what they were doing. Because let me tell you something, Johnny. I am what I like to call a calculated risk taker. And what I mean by that, I will do my research before I go do something. So I wouldn't just go into it blindly. I want to make sure that all the protocols are in place before I go plunge to my death at 120 miles an hour.
So, Brian, zip lining. Then you jump out of a perfectly, running airplane, at how many feet were you? Like 13,000?
I was 10,000 feet.
10,000 feet.
I fell at 120 miles an hour.
Wow. So talk a little bit about you getting inside Jeff Gordon's race car, and going 180 miles per hour, because those that don't know the story, you are a huge NASCAR fan. You are a huge Jeff Gordon fan. You're a huge 24 fan. Whatever made you want to get inside of a race car? Was it, hey, listen, I watch it on TV every single week. My idol Jeff Gordon races in a race car. I want to feel like what it's like to be him for just a little bit. What was it?
It was just the fact that I had the opportunity to get in my racing hero's car, and I wasn't going to pass that up. I knew that I could do it because I've done other stuff, so I knew that I was capable of doing it, and it was just an opportunity of a lifetime, because I know those drivers who run that school, because I did it for the Jeff Gordon Racing School at the time, and I knew those drivers were professional. So again, me being a calculated risk taker, I knew that I was going to be safe.
Was it at Texas Motor Speedway?
Yes, sir. It was the best track on the circuit.
You're just a little biased.
So.
Those of you that didn't watch episode number 1, Brian and Granny, Josie is from Texas. And, Brian, what got you into loving NASCAR?
Well, when I started watching at 14. And when I started watching, I watched Days of Thunder. And I know you've seen Days of Thunder.
Yep.
And if you haven't, I'm going to run you over. So you better tell me you have.
Yes, I have. I actually just watched it the other night.
But do you remember the first scene that he gets into the car and he says, "I'm dropping the hammer." And then when he drops the hammer and takes off, that got me hooked. Because I said, that is completely awesome. Because he took off and he didn't let off the pedal until he came into the pits.
So why Jeff Gordon then? I'm just curious.
Well, funny story. I became a Jeff Gordon fan because of a video game. Because when I was first getting into the sport, I was a Rusty Wallace fan.
Okay.
And then because my mother, at the time, she was living in Daytona with her husband,
Yep.
and they were really big NASCAR fans, and she rooted for Rusty, and so I was trying to be a good mama's boy. I said, if my mother goes for Rusty, then I'm going to go for Rusty too. Well, at the time, that was around the same time that Jeff Gordon won 13 races. So my mom tried to tell me, because she was speaking as a Rusty Wallace fan, she tried to tell me that he was a cheater. She tried to tell me that he wasn't good. So I stuck with Rusty. But let me tell you, when I had my come to Jeff Gordon moment, it was because of a video game. Because I was playing a racing video game, NASCAR 99 to be exact, on the PlayStation 1. And I qualified like 25th with Rusty. So I said, I'm not going to try this Jeff Gordon guy. I qualified on the pole with Jeff Gordon. And I said, here's the thing. This guy's pretty good. And if he's good on the video game, I can imagine how good he's going to be in real life. But the funny thing is, Johnny, my grandmother had already had a Jeff Gordon poster at the time, because Jeff Gordon's birthday is the same year as my uncle's birthday, which is my grandmother's son. And they were both born in 1971. And so
Wow.
Granny said, I'm going to choose Jeff because he was born at the same year as your uncle. So after I had my come to Jeff Gordon moment, my grandmother had a poster in her room already. Well, let me say, after I had my come to Jeff Gordon moment, that poster moved from her room to mine.
Hey, Brian, we literally only have about 4 minutes left. So I got to just real quickly, I want you to answer this. You have 1 minute to answer this. What do you still want to do? What is still on your bucket list? Give me just about a minute answer.
I would like to go scuba diving.
I knew he was going to say that. Swimming with the sharks. I
Well,
knew it. I got it written down right here.
I would like to go scuba diving. Shark free, by the way. I'd like to keep fingers and toes, but I would like to go scuba diving.
Okay, well that's great. So just a couple of things that I want to make sure that we get in here. And Brian, I just can't thank you enough, for sharing your story. But with only about 4 minutes left, I want you to talk about something you have going on right now, and that is your GoFundMe page. Because something's talking about scuba diving, you have a pool in the backyard that you would like to go get a lift, and because it's so hard for people to put you in and take you out of the pool, and you want a lift for your pool. Talk a little bit about that. Again, short answer, because I want to get two other things in here before we wrap things up.
Well, I just need a lift because I've applied for various programs for the past 4.5 years. And every time I get somewhere in the application process, something new happens, and I have to start the process over again. And that same process has been going on for 4.5 years.
And so, Brian, where can people go to help you on your GoFundMe page?
They can go. There's a link directly on my Instagram.
Which is?
At Brian Brown 2430.
Brian Brown 2430.
Yes, that's
Instagram.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's a link in the bio that you can click on, and it will take you directly to it.
And then when I put the show on my social media, as well as you, Bill, we'll put it on our, a link to both your podcast as well as your GoFundMe page. Just real quick, Brian, I just want to get out a couple more things, and that is talk a little bit about your podcast and what, what's it about? What's the title?
The podcast is Brian's World.
Love it.
I want to cover just everything that's going on in my world. It's a very easygoing, laid-back podcast, but I also wanted to use it as a platform of hope for people to laugh, for people to go there and just get enjoyment like this. Today's episode will be out later tonight. I did an on-location episode about my camp out with my little brothers in my youth group. So it's just a very laid-back, easygoing, positive vibe type of podcast.
I love it.
To keep everybody just knowing that there's a place they can go just to get good vibes, so to speak.
I love it. Yep, go
The
ahead.
title is Brian's World.
And again, your Instagram is Brian Brown 2430. And again, Brian, we are going to be wrapping things up. So if you could, you got the next 30 seconds. If you could you maybe just end this podcast, this streamcast, with a prayer?
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to. Dear Heavenly Father, we know that we are created by you. We know that you have a mission for each and every one of us, dear Lord, and we ask that you humbly walk with us through that mission, whatever that mission may be. Dear Lord, I ask that you bless the viewers and the listeners in helping them achieve their goals and reaching their mission to give you the glory. And dear Lord, I ask that you continue to bless Johnny and Bill both as they have tremendous success with this podcast. Just let Johnny continue to bless people like he blesses me and Granny every time we get the chance to see him. In your precious, holy, and great name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Grandma Josie, Brian Brown, Bill Melbach, thank you so much for hanging out with me, Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy.
Thanks for listening to the Outstanding Life Podcast. Follow Johnny D on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Motivational Cowboy. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, advertise, or would like to make a donation, please visit motivationalcowboy.com. And remember to have an outstanding day.